The New York Islanders dominated the Detroit Red Wings, beat them 5-0. And believe it or not, it was a new player who came up big, and this could have a big impact on the season. We've got all that and more next on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to the Friday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. And thank you for making Locked On the number one sports podcast network. I'm Gil Martin. I've been covering the New York Islanders for almost 2 decades, and I wrote the book Ice Wars on the history of the Islanders' rivalry with the Rangers from 1972 to the modern era. So glad you could join us today to talk a little Islanders hockey. And wow, what a great game this Islanders team played. We will have our key takeaways from the win over the Detroit Red Wings, including a player who absolutely stepped up, and this could have a huge impact on the team. We'll also have our hero and GOAT of the game, and we'll have some key takeaways from this 6-1 road trip. Plus, we will preview this weekend's difficult home games against the Blues and the Kraken as the Islanders look to keep things going. Let's start with this win in Detroit. And the Islanders finished the road trip 6-1-0. Remember, I wanted a minimum of 7 points on this road trip. They got 12. And Patrick Waugh basically said at the morning skate or after the morning skate on Thursday that the one game they lost on the road trip may have been the game they played the best. But against Detroit, we'll start there. Who comes up big in this game for the New York Islanders? Max Shabanov. Shabanov with 2 goals, including one that was absolutely highlight reel. Added an assist. A 3-point night for Shabby. He was a +4. And look, when the Islanders acquired Max Shabanov, we were hopeful that he would be able to provide this team with some offense. It was a smart move to take a chance on Shabanov. It's one of those low-risk, high-reward kind of moves, and he's been injured a little bit, and everydayers will recall I said, hey, it's going to take time to see whether or not Max Shabanov, how long it'll take for him to adjust to the NHL, the narrower rink, the more physical style of play as opposed to the KHL, where he had scored, a lot of goals last year and just looked like a really good offensive player. And the big concern other than the adjustment was his lack of size. Well, forget the lack of size. We saw the skill out there last night in Detroit. And the New York Islanders' 4th line, and I've been critical of the 4th line for most of the season, and understandably so, they haven't played well. Well, this combination of Ritchie, Cizikas, and Shabanov were outstanding. 3 points for Shabby, a +4. 2 assists for Cizikas, a +4. Ritchie, a goal and an assist. He now has goals in 2 straight games. He was only a +2 because on one of the goals, he had to come off. He got hit in the face with a stick, and Matthew Barzal stepped on and ended up, contributing that way. So overall, the 4th line was the engine in this game that made the Islanders go. And it is great to see this team get picked up in different games by different players and different people. Easy shutout, no, but Sorokin, he made some big saves early, couple of saves, 2 breakaways he stopped in this game, 29 saves out of 29 shots. And boy, I mean, the Islanders got on the board early, and it just didn't look like they had any reason at any point to think that they were going to be challenged. So it was 2-0 at the end of the first period, and you sort of knew that this team was in control of the game. And I just like the way they played. You look at the little things. Out of the 6 defensemen that played in this game, 5 of them had at least 1 blocked shot. 4 of them had 2 blocked shots. No Islanders forward or no Islanders player had more than 3 shots on goal, but only 3 Islanders players did not have a shot on goal. The balance was very telling. And, you know, when there were defensive breakdowns, and there weren't a lot of them, you know, a couple of bad giveaways, one by, I can recall 1 or 2 by Romanov, for example. But overall, Sorokin came, bailed them out. The team, just top to bottom, played well. And again, Matthew Schaefer, right? No points in this game. But he and Ryan Polak as a duo, +3. And Schaefer was on the ice for 24 minutes and 12 seconds, which was the most of any Islanders player in this game. Ultimately, the performance by this Islanders team, top to bottom, was just really strong. And you're not going to get in the NHL, in the modern NHL, too many games where you could sit there and say, you know what? 3 of our 4 lines played exceptionally well in this game. Good to get Simon Holmstrom back in the lineup. Not that he looked particularly strong in this game, but, you know, Holmstrom back after missing a game with an illness. So Max Siplikov sat. Adam Boqvist comes in to replace Alexander Romanov. Marshall Warren called up. He was a scratch. But just the way this team played, they were cohesive. Their passing was better. Their spacing was better. Their defense as a team was better. And Ilya Sorokin, his confidence, since the goaltending coach change, what has it been, 2.5 weeks now? His confidence, his body language, the way he's playing is so noticeably improved. And, you know, I'll take it a step further, though. The Red Wings got frustrated. The Islanders were handing it to them in this game. And what happens? They get frustrated. They start pushing, shoving, chirping. Eventually, Scott Mayfield steps in, ends up taking 14 minutes in penalties, but stuck up for his guys. And Tony DeAngelo, somebody went after Shabanov. Tony DeAngelo steps in, drops the gloves. Didn't win the fight, didn't matter. He stepped up, stepped in, and did his job to protect his smaller teammate from what was essentially just abuse. And a lot of misconducts handed out. You know, the Red Wings lost their cool. But Islander fans, how refreshing is it to see the Islanders being the team that causes the opposition to get frustrated and lose their cool? And you go back and look at this road trip. It exceeded all expectations. And you just have to be pleased with where this team is at right now. They are fast. They're playing smart. They're fun to watch. And there's depth, at least at forward. And it's just eye-opening to see this team play at such a high level now over a 7-game road trip where they go 6-1-0. And I am just loving what I am seeing from this team. And I'll say this, if Max Shabanov gets into this lineup on a regular basis and can even give you 40 points over the course of the season, let's say 15 goals and 25 assists, just to throw some numbers out, all of a sudden, you've got 4 lines that are getting the job done. Because Richie now with goals in 2 straight games, his confidence is starting to show. Shabanov, even Cizikas had a great game, and he hasn't had many of them this year. But, Barzy playing well. Horvat scores again. Heineman with a point. Palmieri creating chances. Drouin involved. Almost everybody on this team was contributing offensively. Maybe 1 or 2 exceptions to that rule. Schaefer and Polak, great pairing. That is working really well. And Boqvist stepped in without the team missing a beat. So I am just thrilled with what I saw out there on the ice against the Detroit Red Wings. Not what you necessarily expect if you've been watching this team for the last few years, but boy, this team this year so far, it's early. We're a quarter of the way through the season roughly, but this team is different and they're fun and it's been great to watch. We'll have our hero and go to the game, and we'll take a look back at what made this road trip so great for the New York Islanders going 6-1. We'll preview both of this weekend's games against the Blues and the Kraken. And for our Islanders' birthday of the day, a veteran defenseman who joined the Islanders in their 2nd season and really helped this team grow from an expansion, also ran into a Stanley Cup contender. We'll talk about his legacy, all that and more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch. Let's be honest, most of us can't even name all our financial accounts, let alone what they're worth. Between 401ks, savings, and investments, it's easy to lose track, and that can mean leaving money on the table. That's why I started using Monarch, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. I love that my significant other and I, we can keep on the same page while we're using Monarch because we share accounts and it helps us stay together. Monarch's visual dashboards and smart tools also make it so much easier to understand where my money's going and how to make it work harder for me. So don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarch.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarch.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Hero and go to the game. Look, you could go Sorokin with the shutout. You could nominate either Mayfield or D'Angelo for sticking up for the guys. But to me, rather than give it to one person, I am going to give the hero of the game to the 4th line. Everydayers, I've been critical of the 4th line for most of the season. Rightfully so. But I'm not looking to get anybody. If players are playing well, they'll get credit. If players are playing poorly, I will call them out on it. Well, last night against the Red Wings, the 4th line dominated. And they got more ice time than Patrick Waugh ever gives to the 4th line. So, wow, just tip your hat. They're the heroes of the game. I don't have a GOAT in this contest. I just don't have anybody who deserves to be singled out for negative play in this game. So I am going to leave GOAT blank. If I had to give a GOAT, and maybe, I'm supposed to, right? If I had to give out a GOAT of the game, I'll stick with Detroit and basically go with Appleton, who kind of stirred a lot of stuff up, or Casper. So I'll split it between Casper and Appleton of Detroit. But I wanted to take a look back at this road trip just to tell you how important and how good this road trip is. Remember, coming into this road trip, the Islanders had lost their last 2 home games, one to the Bruins, one to the Wild. You start the road trip by beating your 2 local rivals, the Rangers, who you shut out, the Devils, who were red hot. Then you go to Vegas, one of the best teams in the league. You beat them. You go to Utah, a team that is up and coming and going to contend for the playoffs, if not make the playoffs this year. You beat them. You lose in Denver against the Avalanche, but you play very well, go toe-to-toe with them beginning to end. And then you have wins in Dallas and wins in Detroit. And even after the emotional mess that was the injury to Alexander Romanov, and even after that, this team didn't get flustered. And last night against Detroit, they had plenty of opportunities to sort of take the bait and maybe let some of that frustration out against Detroit. They didn't. Kyle Palmieri wisely skating away when he was challenged. Eventually, there was no choice. You had to sort of respond, but let the clock run. Let Detroit stay flustered. Don't give them any reasons to get a power play or to get inspiration and rally around some guy who just dropped the gloves. No. So the Islanders handled it well. They go 6-1 on this road trip. You beat 2 division rivals, including the then red-hot Devils. You beat an up-and-coming team in Utah, one of the best teams in the league in Vegas, another one of the best teams in Dallas, and Detroit, which entered last night's game in first place in the Atlantic. And these aren't fluky wins. These are wins where they're playing good hockey, and when they're not, they're finding ways to win. And you know what? The difference very often between a good team and a not so good team is that good teams find a way to win. Last year, the last 3 or 4 years, the Islanders could play well and just not find a way to win, or find a way to win occasionally, and then the next night screw it up and give away a game they should have won. I am not saying the Islanders will be able to keep playing this well over the next 60-plus games of the season. But if you've watched these first 20 games of the year, if you've watched this team, you know there is a big difference between how they are playing now and where they were a year ago. Now, I wanted to give a little update on Alexander Romanov before we press ahead. The Islanders placed Romanov on IR, and it's an upper body injury. We know nothing more. According to a couple of reports, they are getting a second opinion. That will take place today, Friday. Usually when you're getting a second opinion, that means that surgery is one of the options, and you either try to rest and hope to come back, or you say, hey, we got to go under the knife. And whatever this injury is, and we don't know because they don't tell us, whatever the injury is, they will have to, either repair it surgically or hope that rest and rehab is enough for Romanov to come back. Unfortunately, we have not heard a timetable. I'm hoping we hear something before Saturday afternoon's game, mostly because the timetable is the key. Obviously, we wish Alexander Romanov a quick, speedy, and complete recovery, but it definitely appears like this is not a day-to-day thing. This is not even a week-to-week thing. I'm speculating, but it sounds like we're talking at least a couple of months that the New York Islanders will be without Alexander Romanov, and probably or possibly longer than that. Again, as soon as we hear something, follow us on Twitter. We'll do 1-minute videos on YouTube, and we will keep you up to date throughout. So, not great news for Alexander Romanov as far as his immediate availability, but the Islanders getting the job done. A different player stepping up every game, it seems like, during this road trip, and that was great to see. We have got more to get to on today's show. 2 big games coming up this weekend as the Islanders finally return home. Saturday afternoon against the Blues, Sunday afternoon against the Kraken. We'll preview both of those games, plus we'll have our Islanders' birthday of the day. What will it take to beat both of these Western Conference teams? We'll break it all down for you next on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Rougiette. Let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've heard them all before. It's just stress. I'm tired, or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support, and that's where Rougiette comes in. Rougiette.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rougiette makes it easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online. No awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. If prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. Visit Rougiette.com/LockedOnNHL to get 15% off your first order. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNHL. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnNHL so they know we sent you. Rougiette, stop making excuses and start making moves. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you could even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. And Islander fans, you could use your knowledge of hockey and the Islanders on FanDuel. Check out the odds for both of this weekend's home games on FanDuel. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com and sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Again, FanDuel.com. If your first $5 bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets. Check it out today. 2 games this weekend. And this Islanders team just keeps playing well. Saturday, it'll be the St. Louis Blues, a team that has definitely been struggling. They are 6-9-6. So, that doesn't bode well. They have also now lost their last 4 games. They fell to the Flyers last night in Philadelphia. So this is a team, it wasn't overtime, so they did get a point, but this is a team that is absolutely struggling. And you look at the numbers right now, 26th in the league in goals scored, 30th in goals against. Their power play is fairly dangerous. They're 10th in the league there, but the PK 27th in the league. This is a team that is struggling to find itself. And, we don't know whether or not they're going to be able to do it. Now, right now, it looks like the Islanders are going to face Jordan Binnington in goal. Joel Hofer started against Philadelphia. So Binnington is their number one goalie, but he's got a 3.30 goals against and an 872 save percentage. Right now, Robert Thomas leads the team with 13 points. He's only played 16 games. One guy to look out for who may not be a household name, Jimmy Snuggerud, 5 goals, 11 points. He's playing well. And of course, Jordan Kyrou, always dangerous. The line combinations for the Blues, Robert Thomas, Jake Neighbors, Jimmy Snuggerud are the top trio. Dalibor Dvorsky, Braden Shen, and Pavel Buchnevich are the second line. Pius Suter, Dylan Holloway, and Jordan Kyrou are the third trio. And from left to right on the fourth line, Alexei Toropchenko, Oscar Sundqvist, and Nathan Walker. On the blue line, it's Colton Parayko and Philip Broberg on the top pair. Cam Fowler, Justin Falk, the second duo, and Tyler Tucker and Matthew Kessel are the third. In goal, again, it's Hofer or Binnington. Torrey Krug still on IR. One thing I'm going to say about the Blues, get on them, forecheck aggressively, make them make mistakes. And if they fall behind early, a team that is on a losing streak like the Blues are, they could fold a little bit. Islanders got to keep working. Can't take anything for granted. But this is a game that, coming back home, they should have a good chance of winning. Meanwhile, Sunday, it'll be the Seattle Kraken as the opponent. The Kraken 9-5-5, not including their game Thursday night against Chicago. They will also be playing on a back-to-back. They have a game in Pittsburgh on Saturday night, so the Islanders will actually have a couple of extra hours of rest. Plus, the Islanders don't need to travel. They're staying at home. But the Kraken, they are a much better team than the Blues. They don't score a lot of goals, 29th in the league there, but 6th in the league in goals against. And their goaltending has stood up very, very nicely. The power play 17th, the penalty kill 30th. So hopefully the Islanders' power play, which has done everything except score a goal in the last few games, can get going. Familiar face, Jordan Eberle leads the team with 8 goals. Jaden Schwartz has 14 points, tied with Eberle for the lead. Matty Beniers and Shane Wright, some young, talented players for the Kraken right now. Beniers, Mason Marchment, and Jordan Eberle are the top line. Chandler Stevenson, Jaden Schwartz, and Eli Tolvanen are the second line. From left to right on the third line, Berkeley Catton, Frederick Goudreau, and Shane Wright. And the fourth line, Oscar Fisker Molgard, centering Ty Carty and Ryan Winterton. On defense, Vince Dunn and Adam Larson, the top pair. Ryan Lindgren, Brandon Montour, the second pair. Riker Evans and Jamie Olsiak are the third pair. Again, the goalies right now, Joey Decord and Philip Grubauer. Matt Murray on IR, as is Capo Caco and Jared McCann. The Kraken will be a tougher nut to crack. Got to prevent some of those young, fast players from having too much time and space. That is going to be a big key. Also, got to figure that it would likely be David Riddick against the Blues on Saturday, and then you give the extra day of rest until Sunday to Ilya Sorokin, who will probably play against the Kraken, but we'll see, waiting for official announcements on that. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day. And, Saturday will be the 82nd birthday of former Islanders defenseman Bert Marshall, the Kamloops, BC native, 6'2", 195, which was very big for a player in the 60s and 70s. Started his NHL career with Detroit in 65-66, so he did play in the original 6 era. Then played for the Seals, where he was captain. Was traded to the Rangers at the deadline, basically, in 72-73, and then joined the Islanders in 73-74 because Bill Torrey knew Bert Marshall from their time in Oakland, and what Marshall gave the Islanders was strong, steady defensive play. He did have 30 points in 74-75, 2 goals, 28 assists, but Bert Marshall was more about defense, leadership, experience. Did get to meet him once, a very, very nice guy, and just somebody who loved the game. One of his better games as an Islander, January 7th, 1977. Islanders head down to the Omni in Atlanta to take on the Flames. Billy Smith, the goalie for the Islanders. Dan Bouchard in between the pipes for the Flames. Flames go up 1-0 on a goal by Tom Lysiak, but then our Islanders' birthday of the day, Bert Marshall scores his 3rd goal of the year. Gary Howitt with the assist that ties the game at 1-1. It's 3-3. Then Clark Gillies scores on an assist from Bert Marshall. In the end, though, JP Parise scores on the power play with less than 2.5 minutes left to give the Islanders a 5-4 win. But for Bert Marshall, our Islanders' birthday of the day, a guy who blocked shots, did all the little things, played physically, he had a goal. He had an assist. He had 4 shots on goal, and he is our Islanders' birthday of the day. Thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. For your next listen, check out the all-new Locked On NHL Game Night. Every game, every night until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned. You can find Locked On NHL Game Night on the Locked On NHL channel, both on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Everydayers, we are back on Monday. We will have our key takeaways from both of this weekend's games, and we will start looking ahead to the Wednesday game as we get ready for the American Thanksgiving holiday. If you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, email us at lockedonislanders@gmail.com. And if you leave your first name and where you're from, we are happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever's on your mind. Planning to get to the mailbag questions on Tuesday, so still some time to send those in. If you get them in by Monday, we will get to them. Follow the show on X at Locked On Isles. You can follow me, Gil Martin, on X at Ice Wars NYR VSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all things Islanders all year long, and I am live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road game. So join me for a little instant insight and analysis, and it's great to talk Islanders hockey with you, game time or anytime. Have a great weekend, everybody. Stay safe. Enjoy this winning streak. Enjoy these games. We'll see you on Monday. And of course, let's go Islanders.